What's going on, Bills Mafia? I'm Fernando Schmude, the host of your Leading the Charge, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about some news, this week's news, about Josh Allen working hard on his eyes and on his progressions with offensive coordinator Joe Brady and quarterback coach Ronald Curry, trying to get better at going through his reads and distributing the ball better and properly, making the right reads, going with the ball in the right places, and getting rid of the ball quickly, and giving his weapons more opportunities to produce after catch. So there has been some news this week regarding this, and what made me ask myself, is Josh Allen changing his playing style in 2024? That's the biggest question that I'm going to answer in today's episode. And feel free to comment, to add your opinions, to bring on your takes on it on the chat. It's always a pleasure to interact with all Bills Mafia via chat. And if you're watching in another moment, not live with me here, feel free to comment in the YouTube comment section. I always try to answer there and to interact with all Bills Mafia. It's always a blast. It's always awesome to have this interaction with all of you. Also, feel free to subscribe to my Fernando Schmude's channel and to hit that like button to support my job here, my work, creating content for Bills Mafia all over the world, not just America, not just in English on Fridays. You are already used to it. Every Friday at 1 p.m. East, I'm here live in English, but I'm also always live every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. East in Portuguese, talking to all Brazilian Bills Mafia, to all Latin America and Bills fans that can speak or understand Portuguese all over the world. So I'm doing this job on my own since Vox Media decided to close, right, to shoot out all the Buffalo Rumblings podcast. I'm continuing on Buffalo Rumblings, writing some articles there, one article per week there. It's been awesome. The interaction has been awesome there in the message boards, and you can follow my work there as well. But I'm always asking you for support here in my channel, where I need to go by myself this year again. It's the 5th year I'm with the channel, covering the Bills, bringing, especially in Portuguese. We don't have many content, right, in Portuguese. So I'm trying to cover the Bills the best way possible for all Bills Mafia all over the world. So if you can support me, please subscribe to my channel, share it, hit that like button. It's always welcome. Speaking of Brazil, before going to the main topic of today's episode, it's not even Bills related, but I feel as a Brazilian living in Brazil, I can educate some people in America about the situation here and about the recent news. Josh Jacobs, the Green Bay Packers running back, was in a podcast, right? A great podcast, by the way, with Chris Long, if I'm not mistaken, and he was commenting on how some of the Packers players have been advised to not wear green here in Brazil, and they wouldn't be allowed to wear green here in Brazil, or they wouldn't be allowed to leave their hotels, and they would need special vehicles to move them from the hotel to the stadium and etc. So as a Brazilian living here, I don't live in São Paulo, but I lived there for a couple of years, even a little bit more. When I was still a professional soccer player, I played there, lived there, and let me tell you one thing: this gang stuff, it's total nonsense. There is no no green policy related to gangs here in Brazil. It's total nonsense. Okay, what happens is the game is gonna happen in Corinthians Stadium. Corinthians is a big soccer club here in Brazil, a big soccer team, big fan base, and their biggest rivals are Palmeiras, another big club, another big fan base, and Palmeiras is a team that has the main color is green, right? So it's natural that on regular Corinthians games or when on during the year, all over the year, it's not normal to go to the Corinthians stadium wearing green because it's their main rivals, right? It's like just like a Michigan fan won't go to Ohio State campus wearing their Michigan T-shirt in an Ohio State game against another college, for example, or a Red Sox fan won't go to the Yankee Stadium wearing a Red Sox T-shirt in a Yankees against Blue Jays game, for example. So that's what happens with no green in the Corinthians stadium. That is nothing related to gangs. Obviously, soccer fans, we know that there are some groups of soccer fans that are more violent, and sometimes they can be more violent through or against other fans. But it's totally related to soccer rivalry. There is nothing to do with NFL or not being able to wear green in Brazil. It's total nonsense. All right. After all, for example, Palmeiras fans wear green every day, everywhere, at work and on the streets. They can do that, and there is no problem at all, right? So, but between those two teams, there is a big rivalry, and it's not normal to a Palmeiras fan to go to the Corinthians stadium wearing green, or anybody wearing green near the Corinthians stadium when it's related to their biggest rivals. We had here in Brazil also. I understand American people maybe being a little bit afraid or not having the information about how are the things here in Brazil. I understand that we live here in Brazil. Brazil is a third world country, and I can get the why are you worried sometimes about this kind of stuff. For example, I'm not educated enough, for example, to go to a smaller country or a country with some difficulties, and I can be afraid to go there, maybe in Africa, maybe in a place where there are more poor people, and be we can see a lot of fake news, or not have enough information that makes us worried about going there. But here in Brazil, São Paulo is a big city. It's a metropolis. It's the third biggest city in the world. So if there is a place ready to receive the NFL, if there is a place with ready to support fans coming all over the world to watch an NFL game here in Brazil, this place is São Paulo. The city has everything needed to support this event. All right, and just like every big city, São Paulo has its own problems. Obviously, violence. Oh, there is no violence in São Paulo, Fernando. Obviously, there is violence there. There is violence in New York. There is violence in Baltimore. There is violence in São Paulo. But it's nothing related to green and gangs and nothing. If you come to São Paulo to watch this game, or to have an NFL experience in Brazil, you should be worried about going to São Paulo, just like when you go to any other big city in the world, right? With the violence, with any of the troubles that you find in every big city in America as well, right? But this thing about players not being able to leave their hotels, it's nonsense. And I will tell you one thing: if Josh Jacobs wants to walk around the street wearing his normal clothes, and if he doesn't carry any security guards around him, if he just decides to walk out of his hotel, I guarantee you nobody is gonna know the guy. You know, if there is a place some NFL players can walk around just like normal people and not being recognized, Brazil is one of those places, because NFL is getting bigger here, it's getting more popular here, it's growing obviously, but a guy like Josh Jacobs, nobody would recognize him without his helmet walking on São Paulo. Like, he would be one more guy walking there. So there is a lot of nonsense being spelled there, and even Josh Jacobs already apologized via Instagram post, saying he was fed a lot of fake news, and the NFL is trying to clarify that right now. And as a Brazilian living in Brazil, I tweeted about it, but I feel like I'm responsible as well to clarify this kind of comments and this kind of point of view regarding Brazil. It couldn't be more wrong. All right, I don't see any way how people will be in trouble wearing green in the Corinthians stadium during this game, because they brought in two green teams, man. There is no other way. How you will avoid wearing green in a place where you bring two green teams? So makes zero sense. All right, their fans will be able to go there, wear green, enjoy the game for sure, and it won't be there won't be anything related to Corinthians. And after the NFL goes away, I'm sure there will be back with that rivalry, and there won't be a lot of green stuff inside the Corinthians stadium. But for this event, I can't see anything bad happening due to this situation. Like Corinthians fans and the Corinthians club will need to accept it, because after all, they decided to be the host for this game, right? And so that's what I wanted to make sure you understand about this, because there is there's a lot of fake news going around, and I'm pretty sure uh, everybody that's coming to Brazil for this event will be able to enjoy it. Just like when people came here to for the World Cup, Soccer World Cup, and even a way bigger event than an NFL game, right? Worldwide, people from all over the world, and São Paulo was one of the places where we had games and had the events going properly, no trouble. We had Pan American Games here, we had the Olympics here in Brazil, so a lot of big time events there, and talking about Brazil like, oh, the gangs are dominating the city and no green can be a war there. It's totally nonsense. So don't worry about that, right, Bills Mafia? So let's talk about Bills. After all, that's a Bills podcast, and I already spent a lot of time talking about some of those green teams that we don't even care about, right? But we don't even care about them. But so let's keep going. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, Bills Mafia. Support my job, my work here. And so, talking about Josh Allen in the news, I even brought in here some of the images from where we saw, and I retweeted it recently. And one of the guys responsible, we had this week, obviously the OTAs week 3, but one of the guys responsible for some news was Greg Cosell, the longtime NFL analyst, very respected, great guy. Love his convos and when he participates in the Bills shows. And he was at Ross Tucker podcast, and here he was talking about how he expects Josh Allen to improve in some areas in his game, and quotes, I think Joe Brady is going to work with his eyes in terms of timing and rhythm. Too many times that he leaves the pocket prematurely. So Greg Cosell was talking about this and about the expectations of Brady and the new quarterback coach Ronald Curry working with Josh Allen on his eyes, on going through his reads, on standing still in the pocket and waiting for his plays to develop and finding the right places to go with the ball. But it wasn't just Greg Cosell who talked about it in the Ross Tucker podcast. All right, Josh Allen himself was in a podcast with Doug Farrar, and when talking about Joe Brady and his confidence in Joe Brady as an offensive coordinator now for the entire year, Josh Allen also spoke about this and quotes again. It's not the same mundane things we've been doing for the last 6 years. My eyes have got to be better. My footwork has to be better. And ultimately, the ball placement has got to be better. So it's forcing me to be a better quarterback, quotes. So Josh Allen himself was recognizing and talking up openly about those changes for this year, what he's been focusing during those OTAs, during this offseason. And when he says not the mundane things, it reminds me Ed Oliver's interview from this week's OTAs, because Ed Oliver was talking about the new coach and the new defensive line coach, right? And Bobby Babich also as a defensive coordinator. And Oliver said, I don't see many differences. It's this, the schemes are the same. It's coaching, you know, it's different, but it's the same. Ed Oliver words, all right? So it's the same, but it's different. It's different, but it's the same. So when we talk about coaching, preparation, OTAs, off-season program, more often than not, it's kind of the same. Some obviously some coaches are guys that like to work harder in the sense of working for more time, having spending more time with preparation. Other guys prefer to have high intensity but lowest a lower level of time spent during their workout. So there are some variety, but at the end of the day, they are working on their physical traits. They are working on their technique. They are working on things to make them better players overall. So at the end of the day, the intentions of those workouts are the same. That's why we saw Ed Oliver talking about, yeah, it's different, but it's the same. And Josh Allen, when he says he hasn't been working on the same mundane things, so he's he wants to show us, he wants to tell us that, look, it's different. I'm working on something different. I'm not working on regular quarterback stuff, regular footwork, regular technique stuff. I'm working on some different stuff, right? And when we talk about some different stuff about quarterbacks, first thing that comes to mind is Jameis Winston kind of workouts. Not that different, okay, Bills Mafia. But I can understand 100% what Josh means here, and why Brady is going that direction, and why Curry is going that direction with Josh. Because just like Cozell said, Josh tends to leave the pocket sometimes prematurely. All right, and why does he do that? Because he's been successful doing that, right? When he leaves the pocket, he can buy some time, he can create some big plays, and that's awesome, and it becomes awesome for fan base. The results are great, but as a quarterback, or in every sport, you can't rely always on improvisation. You can't rely always on big plays. All right, those should be the difference makers, the plays that you use to when nothing else is available, and you have this opportunity to create on your own and create some big plays when there is nothing available. So it shouldn't be the thing that you always trust to do, but it should be an alternative when there isn't another option. And when you start to rely so much on those improvisational skills and on those big plays out of structure, it's not a good thing. It's never a good thing, all right? Because let's be honest, on those plays, everything can happen. More often than not, we've seen Josh making awesome plays out of it, but we've seen some bonehead plays that people say also from coming from Josh on some of those kind of situations. So at the end of the day, Josh gotta be a great quarterback doing the simple stuff as well, not only be great doing difficult and or impossible stuff for others, but that seems mundane for him. He gotta be he gotta perfect his game doing the simple stuff. And for again, for every athlete, I'm a former goalkeeper in soccer, and I remember when I was going through some difficult phases in my career, when I was coming from a difficult game, when I was in a great moment. The first thing that myself and my coaches, we started to work on was, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to the basics, and let's um, master it. Let's have the basics being done perfectly, right? So you come back to the basics, you work on your technique, you try to do the simple very well done, right? Because most of the time, the simple things very well done are even better than complicated things, right? That you can't rely having 100% of success rate. So you got back on working. If I made some mistakes with my feet, I'm gonna go back to the basics and work on my passing skills, working on my ball control skills. If I made some mistakes on shot stopping, I would work on my shot stopping basic skills, focus on it. And when I went to the games, I would try to simplify stuff and do the simple very well done. So sometimes Josh starts to play really well and he starts to make some big plays, and it's easy to an athlete to, when he's on fire, to start to rely way too much on this big time potential, big play potential, and try to do way too much. And it can take the offense out of rhythm. It can make the offense inconsistent. It can cause some 3-and-out sometimes. And we know against teams like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Bengals of the world, even the 49ers, you can't really have many 3-and-outs. You can't really have many empty possessions, right? And we saw it happening last season, especially when Dorsey was still the offensive coordinator. The offense wasn't bad with Dorsey, and they were still putting a lot of points on the board, but they were inconsistent. They had a lot of 3-and-out. They had a lot of stretches where they couldn't score a point to save their lives, and it put a lot of pressure on a defense that was also having their troubles and struggling with injuries and stuff. So it made the Bills lose a lot of games. And let's be honest, when we talk about Josh Allen, I'm number one Josh Allen fan. I honestly believe he's the best quarterback in the league. I honestly believe he can do everything Patrick Mahomes does in Andy Reid schemes. I don't believe Mahomes can do everything Josh is asked to do. So I believe he's the best quarterback in this league, the most talented guy. But when we talk about Josh Allen, the first thing that comes to mind isn't perfect ball placement, perfect footwork, perfect mechanics, on-time thrower, right? Or perfect reading defenses and getting rid of the ball fast. Those aren't some of the go-to skills that we mention when we talk about Josh Allen. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm not talking Josh can do those things. He can do those things. We've seen him throwing on time. We've seen him sometimes getting rid of the ball fast, standing still on the pocket. We've seen him reading defenses pre-snap and changing plays, right? Calling alerts, changing plays. We've seen him put some touch passes with perfect ball placement, right where only some of his receivers could catch those balls. But that's not his main characteristic. That's not also consistent in his game. He can do that, but he can't do that consistently, right? Not yet, or not for an entire season and playoffs. We see him sometimes not having this consistency with ball placement, with making the right decisions, not forcing the ball, reading the field properly. His mechanics sometimes, just like I said, he's been through a lot since becoming an NFL quarterback. He improved a lot. His mechanics are night and day. If you see him throwing his pro day and if you see him throwing right now, he got a lot better during his NFL career. But he still has room for growth. That's scary when talking about a guy that the sky is the limit, like Josh, right? So when I see the focus being on Josh, working with his eyes and his footwork and getting the read of the ball fast, making the right reads, it all goes totally on pair with the direction I see the Bills offense going under Brady, and with the moves they've done at the wide receiver room. It seems it's a must for Josh to master those areas of his game, or to get better at those areas of his game, for several of reasons. First, short term, right? This Bills offense is well feared all around the league. All right, everybody who defends against the Bills are lining up two deep safeties and trying to make Josh be patient, testing if Josh can be patient enough to not force those balls downfield and to take some checkdowns and to get rid of the ball and give the ball to his playmakers so they can produce after catch. So they test Josh. They test if Josh can trust his teammates to gain the yards after catch and not trying to gain all the yards on the air with his throws, just like he's used to do so well, right? And sometimes people have some success doing so against Josh. We saw Josh getting bored against the Jets on week 1 last season and throwing some bad picks against the Jets in a game that seemed to be decided, right? We saw Josh having some of this trouble during the season, especially in the first part of the season, where it was pretty clear that Dorsey wasn't allowed to use Josh running the ball, right? And why do I say that Dorsey wasn't allowed to do so? Because there is no reason for Dorsey to try to transform Josh into a pure pocket passer and not allow him to use his legs and run him. Dorsey was a coach that with the Carolina Panthers, he coached Ken Newton, he coached Josh Allen, he was the quarterback coach under Dable. So he was used to have Josh rushing the ball and using him as a runner. It wouldn't come from him to simply take it away from Josh's game. So when watching some of McDermott's interviews last season or before last season, even Brandon Beane, they were very vocal about trying to protect Josh Allen, trying to not have Josh taking unnecessary hits. And it was pretty clear in the beginning of the year, until the Denver Broncos game, Dorsey didn't have the green light to run, to use Josh running the ball, right? And Josh had to be a passer. He couldn't scramble as much as he'd like. He couldn't run the ball on designed runs for him. So he had to be this passer, this pocket passer. And just like I told you, he always tries to read the field from deep to short passes, and he more often than not he would force those passes into some coverage, right? So it makes total sense now with Brady that since becoming an offensive coordinator, he didn't deal with what Dorsey dealt. I know I'm one of the biggest among Bills Mafia. I'm one of the biggest guys defending Dorsey, right? I'm not saying Dorsey was totally awesome and had no issues, no mistakes, no problems, but he had to deal with something that Brady didn't have to deal or hasn't dealt so far, and that is not having Josh as a runner, right? Brady could run Josh all he wanted, and we saw Brady rushing the ball a lot with the running backs, but also running the ball a lot with Josh Allen. And now, for an entire year, I don't believe McDermott, Beane, and even Brady are comfortable using Josh Allen the way, since week 1 for 2024, the way they used him last season. I can't believe they are totally comfortable exposing Josh to hit so often for an entire year. So they need alternatives, right? And the Bills will continue to try to run the ball a lot with their running backs to be a physical run team. Because just like I told you, with defenses still lining up two safety side and having light boxes against the Bills, it's wise to try to run the ball. It's wise to take advantage of having more blockers than defenders and to run the ball and to run it efficiently. So I anticipate the Bills continuing to try to run the ball in this offense. But another alternative to running the ball efficiently in this offense against those empty boxes is having an efficient, quality, short passing game. So in the OTAs, everybody that has been there watching the practices, they could see Josh and the other quarterbacks throwing a lot of short passes to the wide receivers. The wide receivers working a lot on catching those passes and becoming runners right after catch. One thing that people don't talk about Keon Coleman enough. Everybody talk about the highlight catches, the going up and catching it and bringing it down, but few people talk about how Coleman is really, really good at catching the ball and becoming a runner right after catching the ball. His transition from wide receiver to ball carrier after catching passes is extremely good. That's where he he could do so well in the gauntlet drill in the combine. And if you watch his tape, you will see Coleman consistently catching passes, screen passes, slants, and trusting his hands and becoming a runner right after catching this ball, making the transition so smoothly, so fast that that's something that Josh can use a lot, and this offense will be used a lot coming from the short passing game. So to maximize those kind of slants, those kind of routes, slant routes, some screen passes, the screen game, Josh gotta have good footwork. He gotta be on time. He gotta be throwing balls with great ball placement, so the wide receivers can catch those passes, become runners quickly after catching them. And he has some weapons that can do it so well. Coleman is one of them, but Khalil Shakir has proved himself a great wide receiver in this kind of game, in this kind of passes. Curtis Samuel is a guy that is a swift knife kind of weapon. He can be used in the screen game. He can be used coming out of the backfield. He's also a guy that can gain a lot of yards after catch. So the Bills have invested in those guys. Even the two tight ends, Kincaid and Knox, they are good after catch as well. They're physical. They can gain yards after catch. So there is a reason Brady, Curry, they are working so hard with Josh in footwork, in basics of quarterbacking, in ball placement. There is a reason for that because they will try to run the ball and to make the opposing defenses to change their approach and to try to bring them down, to bring more guys to the box, to make those defenses more exposed to the big plays, right? They will try to run the ball and they will try to have a strong screen game. They will try to have a strong quick strike passing game. And that's something that Josh can do. He already has done it in his career. We saw him having success, for example, with Cole Beasley on this kind of short game. We saw last season Kincaid being used in this kind of short game. We saw sometimes Diggs being moved around, moved inside, exploring mismatches against linebackers and being used in this short passing game. But most of this time they were predetermined reads. They were situations where the not just Brady but Dorsey before and Dable before with Cole Beasley, they created those plays so Josh could lock down on Beasley or on Diggs or even on Kincaid now and trust them beating their man and getting open or beating a type of coverage and getting open in this short quick strike passing game. Now with the different weapons that the Bills have added and the extra focus on being successful and efficient in this quick strike passing game, it's even more important for Josh to work with his eyes. And then again, the Greg Cosell declaration and even Josh Allen himself talking to Doug Farrar statement about working with his eyes, because Josh will need to be on point to read the defense's pre-snap, but especially to read those defenses post-snap, right? And if he can read defenses post-snap faster, quicker, he won't feel the need to leave the pocket so early and so often, right? And we saw watching Josh Allen tape, watching every quarterback tape, we'll find it, but watching Josh Allen's tape, we will see a lot of situations where he left the pocket and the play was still developing, and he could, if he was a little bit more patient, he could be able to find an alternative out of the pocket, but inside the pocket, sorry. But since he left the pocket, he missed that opportunity and he had to create an entire another one. So with this new wide receiver group where you don't essentially have a guy that no matter which defense you are facing, no matter which coverage we are facing, no matter uh, which cornerback is trying to lock this wide receiver one-on-one, you are going to him, right? And Cole Beasley was this kind of guy in the slot. Stephon Diggs was this kind of the guy everywhere he lined up, right? The Bills right now don't have this guy. Maybe Khalil Shakir can become this guy. The Bills are betting on that. They are investing a lot. It's been awesome to see Shakir working with Eric Moulds. There is no better guy to work with, in my opinion. Eric Moulds, for me, the GOAT at the wide receiver position for the Bills, the most physically imponent and dominant wide receiver the Bills ever had, in my opinion. So it's great to see Shakir working with Moulds, and if he can make another jump in his third year, remembering that also Moulds himself became started to become this dominant player he was in his third year. So if Shakir can do so, awesome. It's awesome for Josh Allen, awesome for this offense. But right now, we have some pieces that can be used in different situations against different defenses, against different opponents. And it's great. It's great because I believe Joe Brady will put those pieces in the right situations to produce. And it's going to be up to Josh to make the right reads, pre-snap, post-snap, and find those guys winning their matchups. There will be mismatches. There will be mismatches with maybe Samuel and his speed, sometimes with Coleman and his size, Kincaid against linebackers or safeties that are too small for him, and Shakir being moved around. There will be a lot of mismatches because he has different body types, different skill sets at his disposal at the wide receiver position. So it will be up to Josh to find where to go with the ball in the right time. And if he makes a pre-snap read that isn't there post-snap, he gotta be able to move out of that quickly and know where to go with his eyes quickly so he can find the other opening, right? Because if one place is totally locked down and a guy is being doubled or bracketed, I'm pretty sure there will be another guy in another area of the field that will be able to be on a one-on-one or even wide open. So Josh can get better at that. Josh can become more of a cerebral quarterback. Not that he isn't it by any means, but he can get better at this on those areas, and he can improve there to the point that he doesn't need to rely so much on his athletic traits, on his capability, on his legs to leave the pocket and create out of structure. So short term, it's really important for this offense so Josh can be more on point. He can be more this guy that can get rid of the ball fast. And if he isn't taking unnecessary hits on those passing plays, it will allow Brady to use him on some designed runs and as a ball carrier as well, right? So he can take some extra hits running the ball on designed runs if he's not taking hits on the pocket for holding the ball for too long or scrambling unnecessarily, right? You don't want to make Josh a robot quarterback, a pure pocket passer, but you want him developing this area of his game. You want him being able to trust himself and to play efficiently enough to feel comfortable playing like this, because this way he can simply manage the game from the pocket. He can simply share the ball through all his different kind of weapons, and he can, when necessary, and then taking defenses by surprise, use his legs, leave the pocket, create big plays when they are already starting to change their approach. They are already trying to be more aggressive. They are already trying to load the box more because the Bills are killing them with short stuff and marching down the field efficiently. Snap, post snap, first down, post first down. And so when they can't stop that, they will need to try a different approach. They will need to try to load the boxes. They will need to try to be more aggressive. and then the opportunity will be there for Josh to do what he loves to do and what he is was born to do, and create those big plays with his legs, with his big arm. He still has some speedsters at his disposal that can take the top of the defenses. So the Bills should be on paper what Joe Brady is trying to do, what Ronald Curry is trying to do with Josh Allen makes total sense. Is Josh gonna become a totally different quarterback in 2024? I don't think so, but they will try to have him playing more in the structure, managing the game, putting the ball in the right hands, right in the right times, so they can produce. Those playmakers can produce after catch, and that seems to be the recipe for countering the approach that defenses have taken against this Bills offense since last season, or even before, of trying to line up those deep safeties and to force Josh to be patient. Josh showed against the Kansas City Chiefs in the last playoff game that he can be patient and that he can take the shots when they are available. Unfortunately, our wide receivers weren't able to catch those passes against the Chiefs. It cost us big time, but Josh showed that he could manage the game, play some patient football, and march downfield patiently. I believe he'll be able to do it again with this new Brady offense. That's why he's working so hard on his reads, on his eyes, on his mechanics, to be more of a sound technical quarterback from the pocket, so he can open up more space to be even more deadly when he becomes the Josh Allen that we love to see, creating out of structure, leaving the pocket, throwing it deep with his big arm. So that's the recipe. That's what I see Joe Brady, Ronald Curry, the Bills offensive coaching staff trying to do, trying to install, not just with Josh Allen, but with the entire offense. Josh is the guy, obviously, with the keys of this offense. He will be responsible to driving. He will be on the driver's seat. So it's important that Josh can really be efficient playing the simple style of football, the simple quarterback style as well. Well done, and not just the amazing stuff out of structure. And I believe he's capable of doing so. I'm anxious and curious to see him doing so this season, because again, I said short term, but long term, Josh needs to figure out other ways of playing, right? He can't always trust only his physical tools. He won't be that mobile all his career. He needs to take care of himself. We know every season Josh needs some time postseason to relax, to recover, because he gives it all during regular season. He gives it all during playoffs. He takes a lot of risks. He's always with his body at the limit. So it would be nice if Josh could feel comfortable playing from the pocket and not exposing himself that much, only when needed. It will be necessary to extend his career long term, talking, right? So Josh is a guy that always will have the arm, just like we see Matt Stafford playing at a quality level late in his career. Josh always will have his big arm at his disposal. So he gotta be able to get better on those areas he's working with Brady and Curry, because it's gonna be very beneficial for his career long term as well, and not just for this Bills offense short term under Brady and Curry. Will it work? I believe so. I think the Bills have done a nice job building and bringing the right pieces. Just like I said in a film study with the Brazilian audience, I don't think Curtis Samuel, for example, is a better wide receiver than Stephon Diggs. I wouldn't ever say that. But looking at the way the Bills used Stephon Diggs in the first drive against the Chiefs in the last playoff game, for example, Diggs had one catch out of a screen pass. Then he had a run attempt out of the backfield, right? And so those are two touches that I see Curtis Samuel being more efficient than Stephon Diggs. Curtis Samuel is a more efficient wide receiver, receiving a screen pass and creating after catch. He isn't a better wide receiver overall than Stephon Diggs, but receiving a screen pass, I'd take Curtis Samuel over Diggs. I'd take Curtis Samuel over Diggs rushing the ball out of the backfield. Curtis Samuel has plenty of experience doing so, and Diggs never was used that way. So the same way I can tell maybe about Coleman going up for a contested catch instead of Diggs. I won't tell you that Coleman is a better wide receiver than Stephon Diggs because he isn't right now. But going up on a contested catch situation and coming down with that ball, I believe Keon Coleman is a better wide receiver in this kind of pass. So the Bills brought in several different kind of weapons for several different situations. And if Josh can be quick off his eyes, if he can go through his reads quickly and find the mismatches and distribute the ball quickly, I believe he'll be able to take advantage of those mismatches that this group can create for him and that Brady can create for him. So I believe the recipe is a good one, and I can't wait to see defenses trying to change their approach and taking one safety to the box and loading the boxes and exposing themselves over the top again, because there is the out that Josh needs to be able to make some big plays and big throws again. Right, Bills Mafia. So it's good news to see Brady and Curry working on this on those areas with Josh. Technique, footwork, his eyes, his going through his progressions. I really am excited on hearing from Josh that he's been working hard on that, because Josh can get better still on those areas, and he's already totally scary. Just like I told you, he's already the best quarterback in this league. So if he can get better there, nobody will be able to contain him ever, and he'll be able to even not just producing this new Bills offense, but also extend his career, and it's obviously awesome for the entire Bills Mafia. Josh has a relationship with Tom Brady, for example, golfing, and I'd like to see Josh talking more to Brady. Obviously, this is some kind of stuff that we don't know. Maybe he's already talked a lot with Brady about that, but going through tape and because Brady was a master at this kind of stuff that I've been talking about during this podcast. Brady was a master of neutralizing the pass rush, getting rid of the ball quickly, always knowing where to go with the ball, always going through his progressions smartly, quickly. So if Josh can learn a little bit from Brady there, it would be awesome for him. And I feel like that's what Brady and Curry wants a little bit more from Josh. Like, take it easy, don't bail out of the pocket prematurely. Trust the scheme, trust the offense, trust your playmakers. Go through your reads quickly, and you won't need to run around that much. So excited to see it, and hopeful that it will work for this Bill offense. I'm really curious to watch this Bills offense this season. I really believe this team is way better than a lot of people are giving credit for, and excited and anxious to see them doing their thing as the season approaches. Bills Mafia, that's it for today. I really appreciate having you around. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section in the YouTube. It's always a blast to interact with you there. Subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, support my work here. Today I will have also an article coming out at the Buffalo Rumblings with the main guys that must step up for the Bills defense in 2024. So this podcast will be embedded there as well, and feel free to interact via the Buffalo Rumblings message boards. It's always a blast as well to interact there. I'll be back on Sunday in Portuguese, talking Bills again. And that's it, Mafia. Really appreciate having you around. Take care. Have a great weekend. And go Bills.